For more on this, we're joined by Bharath Reddy. He's a fellow on high tech at the Takshashila Institution in Bengaluru. Welcome back, Bharath. Now, with federal disclosures showing record lobbying budgets across OpenAI, Anthropic, Google and Microsoft, is Capitol Hill losing the appetite or political momentum to pass binding AI safety laws?
I wouldn't say that the Congress has lost the appetite. In fact, if you go back and look at how it has approached AI regulation, there's always been a preference towards light touch regulation, and that predates the lobbying surge that you see, right? So that's always been the case. Now, regarding the surge in AI, the spending towards lobbying, so it's partly because the midterm elections are around the corner, and also the two biggest AI frontier AI labs are heading towards their IPOs, and so that kind of gives them a reason to ensure that there is a stable policy environment, so to reduce uncertainty, and so that could be one reason for the additional spending. The other reason could also be, like we were discussing earlier, the release of these Chinese open weight models, which competes with the frontier in terms of capabilities. So, and the availability of these in the market actually impacts the monetization, the ability to monetize the all the investment that have been put into developing the most capable models, right? So both of these. So in some way, if restrictions on Chinese models could be brought in, and also given that the IPOs are coming up, can you have a regulatory environment that's stable and predictable? So I guess that would explain this surge in funding that we see.
And Washington halted the overseas deployment of Anthropic's Fable model over cybersecurity fears. Where should the line be drawn between national security restrictions and private commercial export rights?
So it's hard to make that distinction because a lot of these models, the frontier models, which are the most capable, they are dual use across the spectrum. So you can use them as everyday assistants, but you can also use them to carry out offensive cyber capabilities. So you need the companies building these models to build in some guardrails to prevent some of these most dangerous capabilities. But also, it's hard to restrict the adoption or the diffusion of this technology, because it's not like a nuclear weapon in the sense that there are certain critical inputs and you can restrict access to that. So the talent that's required to build them, the chips, the inputs, all of these are easily accessible, and which is why it's been able to spread the way it has, right? So and in fact, treating it from a national security perspective and trying to restrict access to it actually hurts the American economy, because globally, you'll see that the Chinese open weight models might be more adopted, and that would tilt the adoption more towards the Chinese ecosystem than the American ecosystem. So it's I think a net positive to treat it as and try to compete in that sense.
Beyond regulatory oversight, tech giants are lobbying heavily for data center infrastructure. How critical is federal grid and land policy to maintaining America's computing edge?
So, if you look at how models are being adopted now, it's become a commodity in some sense, and now the costs and the advantage really comes from how accessible are the chips and how expensive is it to run them. So that comes to your cost per inference, and how you can access that, right? So and you see that there is a preference advantage that the maybe the West Asian states have to us because of the easy accessibility of oil and energy prices being low, and even China might have a preference here. I mean, have an advantage here because the energy prices might be subsidized and are easy to. I mean, the inference costs are lower. So in this kind of an environment, I guess the push for lobbying to subsidize some of these things or to enable faster build outs of data centers is so that you can lower these costs of inference for data centers running in the US.
Bharath Reddy from the Takshashila Institution. Great to have your analysis. Thank you.